Um, so thanks for having me. Thank you for the invite. It's very kind and generous of you to think to reach out to us. Before I get into anything, I just want to make sure I address what you all want to know. A lot of folks in this call are already familiar with United Way's work, how we work in the community, our annual campaign, very generous of our annual campaign. But when we talked the other day, we were talking directly about COVID related issues. And so I want to make sure that's what you would like to have me cover this morning.
Well, speaking for myself and other people, please ask questions of what you'd like to know. What I am reading in the national news is that within about 2 months, month two, maybe on out, this economic crisis we're in is going to filter down in layers because people will be laid off, and then that will, cause a sort of a domino effect. So I want to know how and where the money that we give would go in terms of, one of the things I'm hearing, we heard it from Warm Blessings, and the people that are the food bank. And so where should we give our money to make the biggest, not into it? That's what I'm interested in.
Sure.
As the economic, if it does get worse, then what's the priorities? Okay.
Sure.
That's me.
So
Anybody else? Because I'm not speaking. That's for me. I'm not speaking for the group. Does anybody else please raise your hand physically? Or you could send me okay, Barbara, you have a question?
I do. Good morning, Christa. I'm Scott's mom.
Hi, good morning.
I wanted to ask about, or maybe if you would mention volunteer opportunities once things kind of open up, because I want to find a way to reach out to people in the community since I'm new. So
great. That's helpful. I'll just start there. Volunteer opportunities are pretty limited simply because of social distancing. When this first started, we were working, trying to support one of our funded partners, Feeding America. They have so many volunteers. They're really never at a shortage, but people are scared. People, we're not supposed to be in close proximity to each other. So they had trouble to the point where they actually had to close the volunteer center, and they brought in the National Guard. They had their assistance for a couple of weeks, and thankfully so, because with not being able to host volunteers in a safe manner, they were running way behind on how they could fill these food requests, because they serve 42 counties. They serve 5 of ours. What we serve is Hardin, Meade, LaRue, Grayson, and Breckenridge counties. And in Hardin County alone, I think there's 34 food pantries. So just because of the circumstances of COVID, it's really limited what we can do with volunteers. So we don't really have a clear picture of what that's going to look like until we start releasing out slowly all these public places, how that's going to work out. But we're still staying in contact with our agencies, and not just funded partners, but those outside of our funding partnership, because we want to be able to support the community however we can. So as we have volunteer opportunities open up and requests, then we can keep filtering that out to the public. We host this information on our website, and if you have Facebook, please follow us on Facebook or Instagram. We do. I'm sorry.
This one.
I'm sorry. Is everything still okay? The audio?
Visuals? Yes, your
okay.
audio is good. I think someone may be unmuted
oh, okay. No, I just want to make sure I didn't want to run over anybody trying to speak. But pay attention to our website. We're obviously just reach out to the office as we know more, learn more. We can help facilitate volunteer needs. Just right now, it's a really limited
sure.
thing.
Sure. Okay.
But you're going to see it more or less with it's going to be places like food pantries that are going to need assistance, because I can just tell you, we have 211 here locally. And if anybody doesn't know, I'll just go into a brief explanation that 211 is a resource hotline. It's free, it's confidential. But if you're looking for assistance, you dial 211. What that does is that puts you in touch with an operator that can direct you to resources in the community. The top 3 requests that have been happening over the past 2 months have been for rent, utility assistance, shelter, and food being the greatest of those. So where the volunteer thing comes in with that, it could be a delivery. Maybe you're taking it to somebody's doorstep. It could be with a senior meals program. It might be just packing the food to make sure that can, the chain keeps going.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll stop with the volunteer aspect of that. Is there another question out there?
Anybody else? Well, Christa is very interested in what you want to know or what you'd like to know. So she'll return to that again after she gives us more information.
Okay. So what I'll talk about now is the COVID-19 fund. We started a fund about a month ago. We got $10,000 seed money from United Way Worldwide to get this fund started. We are matching the first $5,000 in online donations. And so with what we've received in the past few weeks, either by mail or online donations, we're getting close to hitting the $15,000 mark with those donations, which means that'll actually put us closer to $20,000. The more exciting thing about this is not only there's several COVID-19 funds going on, but the other one I think that is most notable is the Central Kentucky Community Foundation, the Community Cares Fund that they started around the same time. We've just entered into a partnership with the Community Foundation as of Friday. We are going to combine the funds that we have received, and they are actually taking applications online through their website. It's open up to nonprofits who are meeting basic needs. So those funds are going to be directed towards things such as shelter, rent assistance, hygiene products. That's another one there's a great need. Helping Hand of Hope has been struggling keeping that demand met. Food insecurities, childcare, prescription assistance, and that utility assistance. So the idea is that we remove, instead of having a lot of applications open through several funds, we thought by combining these funds that we're streamlining the process and removing as many barriers as possible to these agencies who are on the front lines actually providing these basic needs services. They're a great partner. I don't think that there's any 2 entities locally that understand the needs of the community better. So we just thought that it was best to join forces with them, have a one point of entry as far as applying for assistance. And they serve 3 more counties than we do, but the funds that are raised through United Way's COVID funds stay directly in our 5 counties. And we're going to let them address the needs in the other 3 counties, which is Meade, Nelson, and Marion. Let them work their magic there. But since we serve the same community, we thought it was best to do this.
Mm-hmm. Yes, in fact, that's what I was sort of thinking about, was how do you have all these different groups, and so how do you prioritize? And so that sounds like a good way to do that. Any other questions?
Christa, I've got a kind of a different kind of question. Part of the CARES Act extended unemployment benefits beyond the normal 26 weeks to 39. And so there is a group of folks that long ago ran out of unemployment time. Do you have any information, or are you working with any individuals or know of anybody that has someone that ran out a long time ago but now actually has the potential to tie into some unemployment benefit that doesn't have a job right now?
right now, I don't have an answer for that. As far as the benefits, my understanding, this additional $600 a week stimulus on top of normal employment, my understanding is Kentucky is going to run out of that additional assistance by the end of May. I'm not sure what's happening. There's been, of course, they're inundated with phone calls and online presence from people trying to apply for unemployment. They're unprepared, I think, to serve that large of a request. I had a gentleman call the other morning who was looking for food and utility assistance. And he said, I just don't have any money. And I said, have you applied for unemployment? And he has been trying for the past 2 weeks. And I asked him if online was an option for him. And he said it was really just confusing for him. So I'm not tied into what's happening with unemployment right now, other than the calls that I'm receiving directly, but certainly something we want to look into. We have the Way to Work program, but they're not in operation now. They can't even meet with people. And so as far as what's going to happen with the benefits, I'm sorry, I just don't have an answer, Carl.
Okay. Well, I was actually thinking not so much of the 600, but just the person in mind is chronically unemployed. But
sure.
The idea that possibly, 26 weeks expired a long time ago, but now it's apparently through 39 weeks. I was just, trying to find an answer to that, and nobody seems to have the answer, so don't worry. The application is in and you just don't hear, so yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And if we live in a technologically advanced world and society now, a lot of us, we're talking to each other on Zoom. That unfortunately is just not the case for some people. And that always makes me question who's falling through the cracks that you never hear from. Sort of like that gentleman that called the other morning, and do I take his address down and go down there and socially distance and help him apply for unemployment? It's hard to know how to hit those problems exactly, but try to direct people the best you can to help. But it's just a mess, and there's no clear answers anywhere, it seems like.
Yeah, and we can only imagine what those people that are, we're sitting here saying there are no clear answers, but if you were one of them, how you would feel. It'd be so frustrating, and I don't know. I just can't imagine.
Well, and that's where, we're constantly trying to evolve how we serve people. I think everybody was completely caught off guard. We fund several agencies already that meet basic needs in the community on top of educational, health, financial stability programs. But what do you do when you can't meet with people directly? And so we've had to adapt, and, we don't provide a direct service, but how do we support those agencies that we work with? So on our webpage, which is unitedwayck.org, you'll see there's the COVID relief fund, but on the top of that opening page, there's a bar that you can, how we work in the community, who's funded, but there's a piece that says COVID-19 that tells you direct service as far as basic needs, who is actually doing that. And we're always updating that. So we're reaching out to agencies, whether they're funded by us or not, to find out what resources are available in the community. Making sure that we have that information available through 211. Of course, our office is the default if you can't get an answer through 211. It's not the be-all, end-all answer to issues, but it's a start, and it's a really good one. But thankfully, those phone calls can be routed right to us as well. They're just things that we learn weekly. What food pantries are in operation, what they're doing to meet the needs as far as, do we need delivery to doorsteps if people can't get out. Right now, I can tell you the focus through 211, they've done sort of a soft launch. They haven't talked very much about it, but the population that seems to be getting a big impact at this time, or being impacted mostly, is seniors, and the breaking point is about age 60. What is their access of it to food? Are they in a feeding program? If they're not, how can we direct them, get them connected with a feeding program? Because, financial stability is pretty fragile, especially if you're talking about folks who are receiving Social Security benefits. Most seniors are on a limited budget. So there's quite a few things going on, but those are the top three: the shelter, food, and utility assistance. And what I can tell you is that in the last 10 days that there has been more calls for assistance in our region than there was the whole month of February. That's really huge in a 10-day period. And 85 of those calls came from Hardin County. And the top three, once again: rent, utility, food pantries. It kind of goes down. You've got emergency transportation or gas money, looking for a homeless shelter. There is a shelter locally. I think they are full. It's a 40-bed facility at Radtown. It runs the gamut, but for the most part, those top three things are very, very basic needs: to have some place to sleep, to have something to eat. Can I keep my lights on?
Oh, wow. Now, are those people that are calling you seniors, and you see that breakdown as well, or not?
That breakdown isn't here. This what they're looking at with the seniors is something they've just started within this past month. And so what they're doing is they're recording the phone calls and asking for permission to reach back out to these seniors to make sure if they were directed to resources, were they able to get help? Is that helping them? It can be anything as simple as, do you have the ability to cook food? So what their situation is. So that's something new. I'm not sure that we're going to know what that looks like for a couple of weeks, but I just found out about it Thursday. So this doesn't break out by age. The printout I have here, and I'll get more conclusive information here middle of the week. 211 reports to us every month. So if people answer the demographic questions, I'll know more about whether they were a senior, if it's male or female. And I also know, right off the top, I know what the breakdown is by zip code. So
one of the things that comes to me, as I've said to people, I feel like I'm the elf on the shelf now because of my age and how I'm told even when things open back up at a certain age, you need to stay in. I mean, that's basically what we're told. So Barbara asked, many of us in this class are above this 60 age. So this might even be this might be a good project for people that would commit to it, seniors that would commit to it, to do this work, calling back, this is something we could do from our homes and it would be safe, having a set protocol, having information given to us. Some of us anyway, I would volunteer for that. Barbara's shaking her head. Yes, there may be others I cannot see right now, but that might be a good niche for us.
Okay.
Again, we'd have to talk about it. I don't want to commit anybody else, but it's difficult to find volunteer things that don't put you at risk. That's
Sure.
If you're older. So anyway, that's an idea that we could be used for, maybe.
Certainly. What I'll do is I will reach out to my coworker who does volunteer outreach. Fortunately, her husband just had an accident it's now going on 2 weeks ago. So not only is she working from home and had to communicate with her husband who was in Baptist East after his wreck. So she does the volunteer outreach. So she's working on some pieces there. But yeah, we're trying to navigate this new normal.
Yes.
What does this look like? But let me do some talking to some
Okay.
folks and see how we might be able to do some sort of outreach with your group to seniors, what that would look like, what are the capabilities and possibilities that we have.
And you know, something else that comes to me, of course, I've not checked this out with anybody else, the session, this is just an idea. We have you know, we have a large area that could do, I mean, if we could use it, maybe, I mean, it would, as usual, I've got too many thoughts coming into my head at once. But maybe we could assemble things there if, you see what I mean? And we would have lots of room. We wouldn't be going in where a lot of different people had been. We could keep the social distancing is what I'm saying. If that,
I know, I understand completely. We're so fortunate to be in the office that we have. We are able to come in, Joe and myself have been in here for several weeks. I'm here a good portion of the day. Joe's here for a few hours. If we could talk across a 14-foot conference table. We've got large, we can yell at each other. So we have that ability. So just keeping in mind, even though that's somebody I spend time with, making sure we're being considerate of each other, just because you don't know.
no, you don't. And the thing of it is now is that we know that the virus can be transmitted even without symptoms. So even before you show symptoms. So we have to figure out ways, you know, of keeping people safe, but yet letting us, if we can. So anyway, that's something else for you to think about that we could
Certainly.
assemble in that big fellowship hall, I would think. But again, I need to check that out with everybody to see if everybody was okay with that.
Sure.
Okay, I want to see what time we're getting to, 10:28. All right, anybody else have a question for Christa? This is good because we're beginning to have to think in a new way, aren't we? So, anybody else have questions?
Krista, could you go back to the COVID fund that you're combining with Central Kentucky? What's the mechanism there? Is that going to be direct assistance to people who need shelter or food, or how's that application work?
The application is open to nonprofits in our area that are already providing those services. Now, I know you're familiar with our grant process. It's fairly lengthy and involved, but what the Community Foundation has come up for an application is streamline that. Basically, who's applying? You know, if you're a nonprofit in good standing, and what service are you providing to community? What do you believe is going to be the result of that? So we're already working with known community partners. Yeah, I know there are some United Ways that have decided to go to a direct individual funding. We just don't have the ability to do something like that. I don't necessarily think it's the wisest decision with donor dollars either to give directly to people. When we have agencies that do this work every day that understand the needs, have the ability to facilitate meeting those needs. And so that's our target, is working with those. And we're talking about agencies like Helping Hand of Hope, Red Cross could be an applicant, Warm Blessings. There's several partners out here. Salvation Army is another. You know, they not only do food assistance, but they also do rent assistance for folks. The thing we don't have locally is many entities that work directly with rent assistance. So I'm not sure how that's going to pan out over time. Helping Hand of Hope, Salvation Army, and I think St. Vincent de Paul are probably the leading nonprofits that do that. But it's open to folks that are already established in the community and make sure that we can get those needs met. Is that helpful?
Carl,
Great.
Carl muted. I'm not sure. Well, no, I don't think so.
No,
I got
that was
the
very
thumbs
helpful.
up.
I just wanted to understand. Yeah, so you're funding partners. You're not funding people directly.
No, sir.
Right.
Okay.
If I may, what's going on? Is the community health clinic operating at this point, and are they providing direct assistance? What do you see happening there?
The community health clinic, I believe, is still open for services, but you know, like last week, I know Becky was looking for a phlebotomist to come in and do blood draws. So I think they're at a limited operating status at this point, but still trying to serve people, because there's a lot of people that use that pharmacy there. If they're an ongoing patient of the clinic, that's where they're getting their maintenance medications. And for folks who may not be familiar, you know, we're talking about blood pressure, cholesterol, insulin, and so they are still operating, to my knowledge. Don't think we reached out to them last week, but Hunter's been trying to reach out to them every week if there are changes going on, so that we know that we're not referring people to places that could potentially be a dead end. So Becky is still operating.
Okay. Well, it sounds like there is a real need to, you know, the communication of all of these organizations, so people can figure out if they're in need of help, you know, where to go. I mean, I again can't imagine what that's like for those people. You know, I mean, it's no one's fault. It's just that everything's been turned upside down on its head.
Well, it's one of those, how do you build a contingency plan for something we didn't really see coming?
Right.
You know, I don't know about everybody else, but, you know, for years we hear about what might be going on in China, and there's always some flu or that's, you know, happening there. But I know I heard about coronavirus, and I want to say the first time I heard about it was probably November, December, somewhere in there. And I was just kind of like, it'll never, I just didn't give it a second thought. It will never get here.
Yeah, well,
It was just ignorance talking, I guess.
well, I mean, it never happened before like that.
No.
In November, I was at a wet market in Laos looking at bats being sold to eat. So, yeah, and I didn't think a thing about that either. And have a little picture of these bats in a bowl and think, oh my word, I was so close to that, you know. And really, those wet markets, I mean, they will sell anything to eat that can crawl, swim, rats. I mean, you know, really, you just wouldn't believe it. I mean, it's worth a trip. But I think I heard about it jumping to people, you know, that this virus jumped from that to this. And so you think, hey, Gad, I was so close to it, maybe. So
it's just such a weird feeling of vulnerability that I've never experienced. It's just like, you know, not only worried about, do I have the possibility of contracting it, but am I going to be one of those people that's asymptomatic? You know, good portion of my family's over the age of 60 or has underlying health conditions. And now that, you know, I've got two daughters in healthcare, they're both nurses, and they've seen young people in on ventilators. So,
yeah,
you know, those who are medically fragile or simply just because of age being at risk is one thing, but really it just doesn't seem to be too discriminating at this point. So been a lot of fear and anxiety, I think, for everybody, trying to make common sense decisions and do the right thing to protect myself and others. And it's just a really different time. And it's for all of you who own businesses or, you know, workplace, it's brought on a lot of challenges we just haven't had to think about before. But I bet we're all doing that, making our contingency plans for the future, aren't we?
Paul has a question. So
Yes.
Thank you for your comments. Do you all have any idea about how much money you think you might need in donations? I mean, this is going to increase the stress on you all, as far as you don't have any sort of projection, do you?
No, and so I've been looking at other United Ways in the state, outside of our state. You know, we're talking about regionally, our surrounding states. You know, I believe United Way of Southern Kentucky, I think they have between $600,000 and $800,000 that has been donated to their fund. That's Bowling Green, that region there. You know, Lexington, I don't know if they've hit the $1 million mark or not. We honestly, just speaking frankly, I would be, if we got it up to 30 50,000. I would be surprised. It'd be nice to have 50,000 in there. I think combined with the community foundation, I think we're probably looking at probably more of a $50,000 pool. I mean, that's just, I mean, that's a drop in the bucket more than likely, but you know, typically we're raising money through workplace campaigns for the partners to apply for, but this is something totally different and separate of that. And I won't, it's not like running a campaign. I haven't been, you know, we've promoted it through social media, through constant contact. I'm not sure, you know, how much do we keep pushing this, because I don't know how far that's going to extend, or how long it's going to go on. You know, certainly donations are going to be a little strange with what was pledged at campaign this year for us, because it's based on dollars coming out of paychecks. People aren't working, money's not coming in. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure. This is all very new. We haven't set a goal, either individually or collectively with the community foundation. I'm just talking real numbers and what we see.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. You have given us so much to think about, Christa.
Well, and hopefully, I mean, hopefully it's clearer than mud, but, you know, everybody I think has my email. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to you further, answer other questions. Maybe you think of something later that you weren't thinking about now. Reach out to me. Always happy to talk to folks, and you know, want to give the best information as possible. But also having these conversations certainly is always perking my ears to what are we not thinking about?
Mm-hmm. 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 Okay. Does anybody else have a question? And if you do, well, this is, as I say, I'm not used to this dashboard. I was going to say send me a text, but anyway, and I can't see you all right now either. So,
Excuse me.
Okay. Is anybody, Barbara, do you have any more questions? I'm just going to run through. Let me unmute you. All right. Barbara, have you got any more questions?
I do have a question. If whenever we could do some volunteer work, would we be required, I have not been tested, would we be required to have one of the COVID tests, either one of the asymptomatic or regular tests, before we'd be able to participate?
So I'm not sure. That's going to be by agency, whoever's volunteering, what their requirements are. I know Joe just printed off some information. It was Friday. We haven't had the opportunity to discuss it, but as we're looking at returning our staff here, and we are a small staff and we can social distance, but we still want to be smart about this. You know, is that going to mean a temperature scan? You know, I think they're probably looking at things like that. Do we have the PPE mask available for folks? Or, you know, can the volunteer bring in a mask? I just ordered a box of masks to have on hand. I have a mask. I have a couple I've made at home. But the idea is that whoever's with us, that we have the ability to protect them if that's something they want to do. But I think you're going to see, probably in situations like this, if these agencies are opening up and doing volunteer work, that you're probably going to see something like a temporal scan and, you know, mask and gloves, or, you know, if gloves aren't available, you know, the hand washing is kept up. So I know that there's going to be a great amount of caution no matter what.
Right. I have some homemade masks, but then I also have ordered a box of 4 masks from Hillick and Bradsby in Louisville. They're supposed to be here this week, and you're supposed to be able to wash those at least 10 times for each one.
Oh, wow.
So I'm looking forward to getting those too. The ones I have now are homemade. Scott's mother-in-law made all the family masks. So, but I mean, it's better than nothing, for sure.
That's right. No, I think any level of protection is a good move in the right direction. I have a cut up T-shirt. Okay, my masks from Amazon are coming Monday.
Okay, Bob, do you have anything you want to ask?
All of my questions have been asked. I got good information. Thanks, Christa. Appreciate you
Okay.
being with us this morning.
Thank you for the invite. Thank you for the opportunity to talk, and certainly thanks to everybody for having open minds and hearts and looking for ways to serve your community. No surprise from you folks. Real quick, the machines that you assemble for the Living Waters Project, we were actually given one from Catholic Charities in Louisville, because it is my understanding that they can convert and make bleach. Are you aware of that?
That is equipment that is actually supplied by WaterStep.
Okay.
Their system is a little different than ours. Our system does not create bleach, does not use any chemicals at all to purify water. Our system is 3 stages of filtration, and then the final stage is disinfection with either ozone or UV rays.
Okay.
So that system that you got is a little different than what we use.
Well, the reason we were given it was because one, we can't find hand sanitizer anywhere. I did get some from Boundary Oak, but the idea was that if anybody had trouble getting their hands on disinfectant supplies, whether it be bleach or hand sanitizer or anything like that, this machine with a bag of salt can make like a gallon every 75 minutes of bleach. And, I had reached out to some local entities to see if anybody was interested in taking this on, just so that if you wanted to make it and could supply it to some folks. We even have containers for it, but we haven't had any takers on that. So I'm still looking. If anybody's interested in generating bleach, we have the ability to set them up. So.
Well, that's WaterStep's program. That's their equipment. They're
different
in Louisville. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, I am.
Jackie,
Yes. Who is
This is-
that? I'm sorry.
Dan, I think I'm finally unmuted. Thank you, Christa, for being here. And actually, I don't have a question, but I have a comment. And particularly to Brenda, I just wanted to let her know that the church does have, we do volunteer for the backpack program. It's only one afternoon a month, and it's been off because social distancing, but once things are open again, we'll start out and it'll be in the church bulletin. Okay, thank you, Christa, for coming.
Okay. Thank you.
Great.
Okay, well, we thank you so much for being with us. And again, since you were with us that one time, we do prefer partying, but anyway.
Absolutely.
I'm ready for one of those. That's not
that was one of my
living.
favorite events I've been to. So absolutely.
Okay, so you all can, I think, stay in this room, I believe, for worship, and you're welcome to stay with us too if you'd like, Christa. We won't, we're it's an uplifting worship service. So go in peace and serve the Lord with gladness and joy every day of your life. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Happy Sunday, everybody.
You too.